Kenya. She joined Sam Houston State University 3 years ago and graduated in spring 2020 with a master's in agriculture. She's currently pursuing a master's in business administration and she will graduate in spring 2022. Doreen currently works as a graduate assistant in the College of Business Administration and is also the current president of the International Student Organization here on campus. After graduation, Doreen hopes to work in management within a corporate setting and eventually build her own nonprofit organization to help the disadvantaged. With that being said, let's join in a round of applause and bring Doreen to the stage.
Hi, I would like to recognize first Dr. Alisa White, the Sam Houston president, Dr. Michael Stevenson, our new provost, Mr. Parker, the vice president of the student affairs, all faculty and staff, and all students. I am honored to be speaking to you today. As you have heard, my name is Doreen Muthoni Mode, and I'm from Kenya, and I lived there through my undergraduate education. I grew up in a small town called Nyeri in the very central part of Kenya. And among the 42 tribes that we have in Kenya, I am from the Kikuyu tribe, well known for farming. I have an elder sister and a 3-year-old adorable niece. Enough about me. When you hear about Kenya, you might think of the safaris, wild animals, or nice resorts. Or maybe you might think of long-distance runners. Well, I'm not from that part of Kenya, especially not the running part. The only running that I did was running after the bus to school. I lived in the very rural areas of Kenya with no electricity, unpaved roads, and lived in houses, which was all normal to me until I came here. I was raised in a strict African household where both my parents were teachers. So you can imagine, education was a very important part of my upbringing. Majority of my primary and secondary education was done in boarding school, a very common experience in the Kenyan education. Although it might sound strange, being away from home in boarding school during the formative years of my childhood allowed me to gain a certain amount of self-sufficiency and independence, which has allowed me to be here at Sam Houston State University and be away from my family for an indefinite amount of time. I also grew up in an agrarian community where when I was not at school, I would help my mom on our small farm. I would help her milk cows, rear chicken, fetch water from the river, plant and harvest grains, fruits, and vegetables. My experiences on the farm led me to study my undergraduate degree in agriculture economics, which later on motivated me to come here to Sam Houston State University to study my master's in agriculture. I'm happy to say that I completed my master's in agriculture in May 2020, and I'm now pursuing my master's in business administration to further broaden my knowledge and opportunities that I might have once I leave Sam Houston University. When I joined Sam Houston 3 years ago, everything was new and different, and there was so much I did not know and so much I did not understand. I started classes 1 week after school and could not find one of my classes, which is an experience I'm sure many of us could relate to. On this particular case, my professor had changed the class location, and I wasn't aware. He later mentioned that he had posted the changes on Blackboard, and that was my first confusion. The only blackboards that I knew at that time were the ones the teachers wrote on in chalk when I was in school. Brittany, one of my classmates, recognizing my confusion, went out of her way and took me to the library, and she gave me a crash course on the different things I needed to know about my classes. This was by far one of the most meaningful early on experiences here at Sam Houston, and a demonstration of how kind, helpful, and gracious people within the Sam Houston community could be. This experience made me want to pay it forward, and that's why today, if I find anyone who needs any kind of help, I try to help them at the best of my ability. Another of my learning experiences here at SAM is the importance of being involved in different activities on campus and joining organizations. My first 2 years here at SAM, I was not involved in any student organization or participated in any activities that were happening on campus. I placed my priority on my schoolwork and was unable to realize the benefits that come from being involved on campus. To be honest, I'm a bit of a shy person, and I wasn't sure I could relate to other people on campus with being so new in the culture here in the United States. But in September of last year, I made a personal choice and a challenge to myself to be more involved on campus. I did so by joining different organizations, one of which was the International Student Organization. That brought me up to many opportunities, one of which is being in front of you tonight. Speaking of opportunities, during the early years of my months here at SAM, I had an opportunity to work at a front desk in the advising office here at SAM. In Kenya, I studied a 3-month certificate course in customer service. And so, when I got a job at the front desk at SAM, I was happy and I was ready to work and help everyone. But I was not prepared for the challenges that it came with, and mostly those concerning pronunciations of words and people not understanding what I was saying because of my accent. For instance, in Kenya, we say the name Caleb is pronounced as Caleb, and the word zebra is pronounced as zebra. So those were some of the challenges, to mention many, that people were not understanding me. The biggest challenge of them all, and still is, was the pronunciation of the letters R's and L's. This, however, is not a unique challenge to me only, but is a common challenge to people from my Kikuyu tribe. Through this all, my boss at that time at the SAM Center, Miss Mandy, recognized my struggles, encouraged me, and did not allow me to give up. To date, she's one of the people I value the most during my time here at SAM, for allowing me the opportunity to be better at my job and to also grow on a personal level. From this, I recognize that it is hard to be an international student and that we have to put an extra effort in order to adapt to the many different things that we are not accustomed to. But in my opinion, it's all worth it. The philosophy I have gained being here is that every challenge is an opportunity to grow, and therefore, say yes to every opportunity. Among the many challenges and surprises I have encountered in the US is the abundance of varieties of food at the grocery store. I mean, who knew there are so many types of cereals? In Kenya, if you're fortunate enough to have cereal in your house, you would only have 2 options, Weetabix or cornflakes. Here, there are Cheerios, Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, Lucky Charms, Raisin Bran, Honey Bunches of Oats, Cinnamon Toast, Apple Jacks, Rice Krispies, and Cocoa Puffs, and those are just a few that I could mention that would not make this speech twice as long. It's not just the cereal, but even buying an apple comes with its challenges. In Kenya, apples are either green or red. Nothing more. Here, I'm forced to decide between Envy, Fuji, and Pink Lady, and just to mention a few. With all these evidences come a tendency to indulge because it's all new and I want to try everything, but that comes with a cost. But that's a story for another day, when I have time to lament about how clothes seem to shrink while I'm in this country. In addition to the surprises I just mentioned, another surprising aspect of being in this country is how seriously people obey traffic laws here. In Kenya, red lights are treated simply as notifications that there is an intersection. In fact, my very first days here in the US, I was driving with my cousin and she stopped at a stop sign. Confused, I inquired why she had stopped at the stop sign, considering there weren't any cars at the intersection. When getting into the store, I'm always left behind since I wasn't used to polite drivers that there are in this country. In Kenya, we simply learn to time traffic in order to cross the roads. As for school zones, well, those are non-existent. My learning experience here at SAM have been a lot. And if I shared all of them with you, we would probably stay here until morning. But to finalize, my greatest surprise, and at least for me, is that someone who grew up with no electricity, used an outhouse without knowing that that's unusual, and lived in an area with unpaved roads, can come to the US and become the president of the student organization and be a keynote speaker in one of the main events. To say this is a dream come true would be a lie. To dream this would mean I imagined its possibility. Such an eventuality would never have crossed my mind. So to actually be standing in front of you today is probably the greatest surprise of all. And the fact that I'm here is the clearest indication that anything is possible in this country. This is a land of opportunities, unlike anywhere else in the world. And there's no better place to experience this than here at Sam Houston State University. I have learned so much being here at SAM, such as learning how to relate well with people, the art of being resilient, and leadership skills, just to mention a few, but both from engaging in classwork and activities outside of class, which I believe are important skills to have in the outside world once I graduate. I will leave you with a famous Swahili saying, huwezi kujua ukiwezacho mpaka umejaribu, which when translated to English means, you cannot know what you can do or you're capable of doing until you have tried. Thank you, the International Office and the Student Affairs and the Planning Committee for making unimaginable dreams come true. Thank you so much.
So we're going to give Doreen another large round of applause because she was backstage just nervous and all that.
Woohoo! Go Doreen!
And at the end, there's a small token